My name is Jacob Friedman. This is an interview about Book Gallery West for the Gainesville Business Oral History Project run by the Inquired Capitalism Program of the History Department at the University of Florida. Understand that for us and for the public, the information you're providing is a gift, as it is an incredible historical resource, and we dearly appreciate it. This interview will be a part of the UF Oral History Collections and the UF Digital Collections, and it will also be posted on YouTube. Could you please introduce yourself? What is your full name, and could you please spell it?
Janetfronk, Janet Fronk. I go by Jan.
All right. To get us started, can you give us some background and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I grew up in Texas. I got my master's in Los Angeles in social work. And then I practiced there in Denver and Gainesville. And then my mother passed away, and she left a little bit of funds, and I tried real estate for a while, and I thought, gee, I think I'd like to own a store. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I should see if I could buy my favorite store. And I lived right behind the Millhopper Shopping Center, and I loved this little bookstore. It was just fun to go into. I enjoyed it, and I loved the books, and I loved all the little knick-knacky gifts and stuff. So I thought, well, I'll just take a blind leap of faith and ask if the owner would like to sell. Well, she had a great store. Why would she? But then she called me back many months after that initial conversation, and she said, yeah, I changed my mind. Maybe I do want to sell. So 9 months went by, we did all this negotiating, and finally I bought the store in May of 2007. So it's been my joy ever since. It's a great place, I love it, and I think other people do too.
What brought you to Gainesville specifically?
I wound up in Colorado after being in California, and it was very dry, it was very cold, it was just very hard on my skin. And so my husband had been from Orlando, so we decided we'd look at Florida where it was warm and humid, which was the answer for my dermatological issue. So we didn't like Orlando. We fell in love with Gainesville, and there we were. And I worked in social work for a number of years here in town.
How was Book Gallery West when you first moved here?
Well, it was a wonderful store, just like it is now. Just doing fabulous and a lot of fun to come into as it is now.
How do you think it is different now?
Well, the gifts were very popular. I just got it all into that and did, I think, more with the gifts than had been done. And, it was a surprise that I could do it, because I had no experience in doing anything like that. But it seemed like people said I was doing a good job and I was good at it. So we kind of increased all of that and made it a bigger part of the store. And it is quite an important part of the store now.
How much of that operation, of those sales, is the gifts, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, it's usually about a third through the year, and at Christmas it's a half. So a lot of people just really like the gifts, and it showed up. This last year, the Gainesville Sun decided to have a voting on what people like in the community, and they had categories. They didn't have a bookstore category, but they had a gift category. And I got this notice that our store was second. We're not a gift store, but to come in second, I was shocked. But apparently people like our gifts quite a bit.
In addition to gifts, I noticed that while I was researching about your store, that you received quite a lot of secondhand books, and that you also donate for a few amount of them. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, we are primarily a used bookstore, and customers bring us books, and we buy books from people that come into the store and want to sell. So, but we don't buy everything. We're a little picky. We sell mostly used books in good or better condition. So we always ask people, what would you like to do with the books we don't buy? So there's two options. Some people take their books home. Other people say, no, I don't want them back. And so then the Friends of the Library volunteers come once a week, and they take off the books we didn't take that the customers want to donate to friends.
You talked a little bit about your relationship with Friends of the Library. How is the community in your place in the community, in your relationship with the community here in Gainesville in general? How has that been for you?
In general, let's see, we were talking about Friends, and of course our relationship is very good. If you go to their sales, a lot of the books that are there came through Book Gallery West. As far as the community, all kind of folks come in the store, and we're just happy to have all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when I visited, there was a person who went there for the first time and was asking if you have comic books, and it's really cool to think that even now you still have new people coming in.
That's right. And then there's people that come in and say, I've been coming here since I was a child. Mm-hmm. And that happens all the time too.
Mm-hmm. In your ownership of the store and your operation of it, have you had any significant obstacles?
Well, you can just imagine. I bought a store. I had been a social worker. I knew nothing about business at all, really. And, so there was a learning curve. It went pretty fast, though. I had a lot of good people and, a lot of help. And, it all kind of got worked out. And, and I just took it in different directions that I thought were fun with the gifts. And the books were pretty much a standard way of doing things. So initially that was an obstacle.
The learning curve?
I learned pretty fast. Mm-hmm. I kind of had to. One day I was a social worker who bought toothpaste. The next day I was the owner of a business and needed to buy thousands of dollars worth of merchandise.
Mm-hmm. Are there any new obstacles now?
Well, the obstacle, happened with the pandemic for all books and mortar stores. No surprise, people learned to shop at home and enjoy shopping at home. So the way we have dealt with this and the way we're still in business is you have to do something different than online. And, they're offering, fast delivery and all of that, great variety. But we have all these used books, and they're cheaper than if you don't have to have a brand new book, but you'd like a book in good condition, we pretty much can beat what you can do with Amazon. And then for gifts, we're way more interesting than Walmart. So cheaper and more interesting and more quality has kept us going.
Besides those adaptations, have there been over the years any modernizations technology-wise, or maybe in your philosophy of how you run the store?
Well, at one point we tried a coffee shop, and it just didn't take off. And for good reason. There's a beautiful coffee shop at the other end of the shopping center. But, you know, we have the willingness to try things and not be afraid to try new things. And some things work, some things don't. I'm not very technologically gifted. In fact, I'm kind of at the low end of it, you know, but, and that's still an area that needs attention for sure. But, you know, we just have come up with a system that works pretty well for us as far as employees and responsibilities and how we manage, and here we are.
You were talking a little bit about, you know, getting some competition in coffee from a store across the plaza. How is it, your interactions with other stores in that plaza? Like,
oh, we all get along really well. Yeah, it's a wonderful little backwards L-shaped shopping center, and we are at the joining point. So anyway, we have a wonderful location. I would say the best in the shopping center there, because it's at that joint that faces out where the store is easy to see.
And then, you know, you did speak how you're not the highest on the level scale of technological literacy, but how do you see social media playing into the store?
Well, we clearly don't do enough of it. And, you know, if somebody ever bought the store, I am elderly at this point, you know, that's probably where they could really pick up and go somewhere. But yeah, I'm a little bit limited in that area for sure. So we get a lot of foot traffic because of being next to PetSmart and one of the very most popular Publix. They make, I think they come in maybe second as far as what they make there. So there's a lot of people that are there and they just go, oh, well, we went to Publix, let's go down the way here. So the location is excellent.
So you rely more on like word of mouth?
Word of mouth and foot traffic, And
then, you know, obviously Gainesville is a college town. How significant is the student population to Book Gallery West?
Well, we love our student population and we cater to students. You know, we've got a lot of cute little gator items all the time. We look for them, we put them in the store. We have a mural on the windows on the side that features a gator. This, you know, darling little cartoon of a gator reading in the swamp to little swamp animals. And then on the front we have another gator. So it's important to us. We advertise the football schedule in the fall. We had a nice ad, and then here in April we're doing advertising in the Alligator.
And how is there a relationship with UF itself, or how?
Well, I don't think, you know, there's no way to do that. It's students that come in, and students like what we have because it's used books. It's more economical for them. They frequently choose classics or sci-fi. Very popular with our UF students that come to us.
You were talking before that you were thinking of maybe selling the business, if I understood that correctly, but...
Well, I'm not exactly. I mean, I'm 79 here in May, so I have to think what is really going to be the future. My granddaughter is at Santa Fe now, and she's preparing for a profession, and so, you know, at some point, you know, somebody, I mean, I'd rather not close the store, in my 80s. I'd rather somebody, with more talent, more energy, more came along with some new ideas and bought the store. It would be hard for me to give it up.
Yeah, so you're still currently thinking of anyone?
I'm just thinking of the options at some point, which, at 79, you've got to start considering the options.
And if you don't mind me asking, how many employees does the store have?
We have 5, and I consider myself an employee, so I'm number 6.
And what of yourself do you see in the store?
Well, I've created a peaceful, sweet environment in there. People somehow notice that. They'll come up to me and say, "This is different." Well, I hope so. I hope it's as fun for our customers as it is for me. But, it's serene. And, I pick staff that relate well with people. And it's so critical, If you want a non-person type of buying, then you're online. But, my store needed to be fun, and it is fun. And so it's like your third place, someplace fun to go where you can actually talk to people and have an engaging conversation and fun looking around at the unique things that we carry.
Would you say that's the goal of the store, to create that third place, not just for yourself, but for everyone who walks in your door?
Well, that certainly is, but more than that, behind even that would be serving others. And I think that's what a library or a good bookstore should do. I want people to learn things that they would like to learn and be able to have variety of choice in what they read. I'd like them to come in and be able to find fun little gifts that they can give or something they would just like for themselves. And so the goal behind it all is service to others, to the community.
Is that what you find the most rewarding?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. And we get such excellent feedback about that. People always complimenting us. And, there's a magazine in our town. Well, 3 years ago, they decided to do what the Gainesville Sun had done, which was really before the Gainesville Sun did what they did. But, every year we've won Best Local Bookstore. And to me, that's just an indication that people do find what they want in our store, that we're viable in the community and what we feel a necessary spot.
What is the thing in Book Gallery West you're the most proud of?
I think that we have this beautiful, serene, and very happy environment, free of negativity, and just feeling that the store is full of love and light. Compared to something like Barnes & Noble, do you think that's how Book Gallery West sort of redefines what a bookstore can do? they're valuable too. And but we're this little unique little place where we're in the suburb, but we're kind of like a country store. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and great books that are cheaper. They're not at retail. The used books are not at retail price. So I think it fills a different category than a big box type store.
And then you spoke earlier about how you've had people coming in for years and years, and that Do you have cases where you have people who've come in when they were like teenagers and now they're coming in with like their
Their
kids?
children, exactly. They'll say, they started here with their parents, bring them in when they were in elementary school or high school, and now they're back with their kids. And, you gotta love that. It's such a beautiful feeling. The store, started in 1983, so half the time I did not own it. But, that's what you see, longevity and still continuing on.
Yes, the Book Gallery West was opened in 1983 in addition to the Book Gallery on University, which was opened in the 70s by Anne Morgan, which unfortunately closed in the 90s. But how was your relationship with the previous owners?
Oh, very good. I came in contact with Anne and knew her for a few years, and then the Landis couple, I knew Pat. She was in the counseling world as someone I knew when I was doing social work. And then her daughter bought Book Gallery West, and we got along wonderfully well. She now owns a store in Hale Plantation called The Perfect Gift.
Is there any sort of relationship Book Gallery West has with the city of Gainesville?
There hasn't been anything come up that would have crossed paths with the city government anyway.
Now, to get on a little lighter note, what is your favorite part about running the business?
What is my favorite part? Oh gosh, there's nothing like coming to a job where you enjoy it, where it's fun, where it's positive energy all around you, where people laugh and smile a lot on their own. It's just who they are. It's a wonderful thing. And I guess that kind of sums up what I love about it.
Now, what is your favorite book?
Let's see, everybody wants to know that, and that's impossible to answer that question. But what I usually say, I usually talk about something I think everybody might enjoy. I think we do a really good job with our Florida books, something everybody can enjoy. And, there are wonderful books in that section, like John Moran's book. Now I'm going to forget the name of it. Great. And then there's a book on the Itchnituckney that's really good. Sacred Waters, Itchnituckney, the Sacred Water. I mean, that's something, that just stays in your heart forever.
And since you've come to own Book Gallery West, did that change your relationship with books and literature in any way? Like, changed how you view them or consume them? Oh,
no, I've always loved books and turned to them specifically for learning. I'm one of those nonfiction people, and I like to learn, and so many topics I find interesting. So I've always been that way. And so no, it really didn't change anything. I still love books the same.
Originally, when you were a social worker, what led you to choosing that career path?
I wanted to help people. And I thought it would be a good use of my career to help others. I'm still helping, just in a different way. It didn't quite work for me. So I just found a different way to do it. And now it's such a breeze for me. It's such a happy thing. Just a little bit of a switch in how that occurs.
Was there anything you learned as a social worker that you apply at Book Gallery West?
Put people first.
Mm-hmm.
The people are the ones. It's not about me. I'm second or third or last, you know. Put the people first and, you know, be good to my staff. Make it fun for them. Make it a safe, happy place for them to work where they don't have to worry about negativity around them. I guess that's it with social work.
Mm-hmm. What is something that surprised you about Gainesville?
Oh, what surprised me? You know, we came and looked at it. We really liked it. It felt like an instant fit.
Mm-hmm.
Just instant fit. And then we thought, well, I wonder if we can get jobs here, you know. And they came just like that. Both my husband, ex-husband, and I both found jobs immediately, which was incredible, you know. And, you know, it's always just been a perfect flow. So the surprise, I guess, happened in the beginning when we went, my gosh, this is perfect for us. That was a shock. And it's just been great ever since.
What is your favorite local restaurant?
Oh, gosh, there's so many good ones. Just thinking of what I love in the immediate area, there's Northwest Grill. Is wonderful. I guess that comes in first with a lot of close seconds, you know, that are also very good.
Mm-hmm. How many children do you have?
I have one daughter one granddaughter. Alita, the granddaughter, lives with me, and she's worked at the store almost 3 years now.
Did you have a favorite children's book that you would read to them?
Oh, gosh, the books I had as a child, you know, are so long gone. And even with my daughter, she's 51, those books are not available, except for Dr. Seuss. She's been around forever, you know, and of course, you know, I love those. I love Dr. Seuss a lot. But there's a lot of new books that are come and go, you know, in children's.
Like, because I do notice from when I visited your store, you have a section for the students to buy their textbooks or academic books.
Well, it's not textbooks, but to buy school reading that is required reading. And then, of course, in that section, there's a lot of series books. A lot of young people like the series. I know I did when I was a child. And you know, a section for younger children as well as middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm. As a female business owner, has there been any difficulties in regard to that?
No, not that I can think of. I just plow ahead. I don't see anything. I've never had anything. You know, we have a whole lot of women customers. I think maybe because of the gifts, probably a little bit more than men customers. So, you know, why would they have any problem with me, you know? And, but no, I haven't had any trouble with anybody because of that.
Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned earlier that you want to start seeing if you can leave the ideas for whoever comes after you, but are there any plans of expansion or renovating the business in any way?
Well, you know, the rent is very high. That's the thing when you see all these closings is why are stores? One of them is a failure for shopping centers to deal with the fact that things have changed over the years. And our rent is $10,000 a month, which is a lot of money for a little bookstore. So I don't see how I would want to do a second store. Have I worked on the store and made it better? Yes. We painted, we added tile in one section, we recarpeted, so many things you do to make the store prettier. But I think it's enough. There's no way to compete with a big box store. And I think we're just happy like we are.
Mm-hmm. Has rent always been your number one issue in regards to cost?
Well, that's a big one, but obviously salaries go up every single year. And so, it's more challenging and just in general, everything changed with COVID, the pandemic. It just changed people's buying habits. So, we've got more challenges than we used to have.
Yeah, I'd assume COVID meant a significant decrease in your sales and your customers coming into the store. Well,
it dropped a little bit. But, we've had struggles all along. There was Kindle, there was Amazon came into play. And, so there's always been challenges. And that's what has put a lot of bookstores out of business.
Have you noticed, so in the news, especially in the past few years, there's been, some revitalization to the bookstore industry. Have you noticed, maybe increased foot traffic over the past few years? Have more people across the nation?
I don't think so. And the other thing you should probably notice is the fact that there's not a lot of bookstores opening. There are quite a few bookstores that openly beg for donations. We don't. Could we use them? Sure, but I just can't quite put that concept together with retail in my mind. But a lot of them do beg for donations to keep the doors open. So I think that's kind of really, the reality. It's not just bookstores, it's all brick and mortar stores. They call it the retail apocalypse. Mm-hmm. It's just a different world. I don't know that there will be shopping centers someday, maybe 10 or 20 years from now. There may not be any, except for food and essentials. So we'll see what happens.
And then I guess, if these stores are disappearing, what do you think? Do you think people, because you say you try to create a sort of welcoming environment and nurturing and loving environment, do you think that that's the sort of thing that can get people to stop that, to go to their stores?
Well, that's it. If you just want to sit home and order some paper clips, why not? But if you want to get out and do something fun, have your third place, talk to people, we're social, humans are social beings. So sure, that's probably what will keep things going. I hope so.
Mm-hmm. And would you say that's your mission?
Well, my mission is to serve, and I'm here and now. So we'll see what happens in the future. Of course, I always hope to offer people a happy place to come and be with us and have fun.
Mm-hmm. Do you see, you spoke a bit earlier about how, students will tend to gravitate towards like the classics. Do you tend to see any trends in what kind of books get sold?
Well, I would say our younger population of customers really do like sci-fi and graphic novels. That's a big deal, as well as the classics. And then we have older people that the men like the westerns and little paperbacks a lot. And, a lot of people just want a quick read, and they'll come in and get our little mass market paperbacks. And then, we don't have just used books. We got new books as well, so we keep up with bestsellers, New York Times bestsellers and books. And, yeah.
I notice your store also, you have a small section for audiobooks. So.
Very small, yeah. Yeah, not a lot of that happening, but it's there.
Mm-hmm. And I know you talked a bit earlier that you hesitate to name a favorite book and that you like or want to mention Florida books, but I guess you mentioned westerns and that got me thinking, is there a genre you like of not just books, but maybe movies or of the sort?
Well, I like the Eastern religion books, Eastern philosophy and health and cookbooks. I mean, here we go. I'm going to list out half the store. Science, we have a really good science section, and that's fun, Of course, that's a section you really have to keep on track with, on old science books. But I like that section.
How much of your store would you say that you've read?
Oh, probably nothing compared to, we're talking 25,000 books, so it would be just a small amount. Mm-hmm. I'm busy running the store.
Is there anything you're reading now?
Yes, I am, but I've just started, and I just picked up something, and I don't even remember the title. It was, I think, a Buddhist book that I have at the house.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you'd like to mention?
Ooh, come to my store, people. I need you guys.
We need you in that third place.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Of course.